Well, thanks everyone for joining us. If you are walking around, we are hosting a conversation around sports and community. So please take a seat and join us. But I am so excited about this chat today. This is something that I love a lot is sports and talking about how we talk about sports communities and build teams and brands. And I played in this space for a long time, but I am very excited to be joined by the two of you. So I'm going to give Ted and Edreece some time to intro themselves, and then we'll dive in.
Sounds good. I'll go first. First off, thank you for having both of us. Great to be here. Thank you all for attending. My name is Ted Kohnen. I'm the CEO of Park and Battery. Park and Battery is a global marketing and advertising agency. So everything from brand strategy, media, go-to-market, and working with brands in all spaces. So in sports and entertainment, life sciences, financial services, quick service restaurants. It's quite a diverse group of clients that we have. And I had the privilege about 2 years ago of joining the ownership group of the Oakland Roots professional soccer team. And that's where I got to meet the gentleman to my left, Edreece.
Thanks, Ted. Hello, everyone. Good to meet you. Thanks for the introduction, Ted. Thanks for having us, Brittany. My name is Edreece. I'm one of the co-founders and the chief marketing officer at the Oakland Roots and Soul Sports Club. We are a professional soccer team based in Oakland, California, and we're one of the leading purpose-oriented pro teams in the nation, and we can get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to have these guys on stage because I think you both bring a really interesting perspective when we're talking about sports and community, right? And to your point, you just talked about purpose, and that's kind of where I want to start. You know, I think what you've been able to build with the Oakland Roots is really focused on community and really focused on how you build a team and a fan base that really reaches back out to the community versus just inviting them to be a monetization factor. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you built that and why you decided to go in that direction.
Sure. So I'll start with saying that I was born in Oakland, raised in the Bay Area my whole life. About 8 years ago, I came back to the Bay Area and asked the question, why not professional soccer in Oakland? Just a raise of hand, are you all familiar with like the current Oakland sport landscape with the A's leaving and the Raiders going to Vegas and the Warriors going to San Francisco? So as a longtime Oakland native and resident, I was a bit disappointed by that. Specifically, I was disappointed with the vehicle that a billionaire creates to then park a bus on a community, and when things don't work out, they move it to a different place. That model in Europe does not work. Clubs are built in pubs. They're built by common people. They're supported by common people. And I thought, why not now? Why not create a team that puts community first in this environment and do it unapologetically, do it with aesthetic in mind, with powerful storytelling, and ask the question, why hasn't it been done this way? I think a lot of folks think there is a pathway towards professional sports and you got to follow that. I think we're proof that when you put community first, a lot of incredible things happen, and that's actually how you monetize. You create a deep, meaningful connection with people, and people then support you in your efforts.
Yeah, and I think that this is where it's really interesting. The world of sports is challenged by the same thing in every category that you look at it. It's building fan bases. It's creating a deeper relationship. That's why we created Live Plus, to be able to do that in real time during a broadcast game, right? And I think that you are constantly looking at how you really build out your community. And because it's not just about a fan, you want to engage that community and bring them into the world. And I think that's where we come in, right? So as marketers is thinking about that entire space. So I'd love your perspective on how do you take that step that you're doing where you're actively reaching out to the community, and how do you maximize that and build around it to really not just create casual fans, but really create deep, engaged loyalty?
Yeah. So that's where marketing and advertising has a lot of power to turn casual fans, those maybe with low awareness of a sports club, into just rabid fans, like the loyalists, the advocates. Because yes, like marketing and advertising, great vehicle for getting folks energized, sustaining that energy over a long period. Like if you're in MLB, that's a long season, right? And if your team is out of it by the All-Star break, you got to keep the energy going. But what's interesting in terms of reaching out to the community is really penetrating that community. And I think what we do and what the Roots do and others do from a marketing advertising perspective actually is about expanding inclusivity, right? You have the opportunity to go into a community and reach them with a message that resonates. We know, I mean, every study has shown this, that consumers now are purchasing products or experiencing products that align with their values. And when you're able to make that connection, as Edreece said, it's what turns the casual fan into that loyal advocate.
I'm so glad that you just brought that up, because I think that's where it's really interesting is now you have all of these new channels to do that.
Yeah.
So, my question to you, Edreece, is technology, right? What are the steps that you're taking to create that bond, and how is technology playing a role in that?
Yeah, fantastic question. So just to preface it a little bit as well, when we started this team, we were in Division 4. We moved up to Division 3 during the pandemic to Division 2. And ever since, revenue has climbed, awareness has climbed, and that's been all intentional, and it's all been authentic. We've had one of the lowest paid advertisement budgets in the league year over year over year. And what we pride ourselves on is the experience, right? The net promoter score. If someone comes to a game, are we providing them with a magical experience, and are they leaving becoming promoters of the brand? That is the most effective marketing and advertisement tool. So when you start pairing that with paid ads, then you start to really see the ripple effect take effect, right? We play out of venues that aren't professional venues. We are now, we're playing out of the Oakland Coliseum this year, which is a massive feat for us as an organization. And our home opener is on the 22nd. We're trending 25,000, which is going to be amazing. But the way in which we engage with people is we try to, in a way, make the technology hide away. I think technology can get in the way of an experience at times, and what we try to do is implement tech that enhances the experience and the senses, right? Is the technology allowing people to get their food faster? Is it helping them cut the lines quicker? And then furthermore, one of my favorite techs that we've integrated is the Evolve system at security. Security has always been a pain point for us at every single game. There's a bottleneck, going through the metal detectors. This technology allows people to just walk straight through without any removal of their bag or anything, and allows for a fluid process. And the system picks up on prohibited items that the individual may be carrying, and security stops them when that happens. But it has enhanced the game day experience and has almost kind of hidden the technology in a sense. And so we try to pride ourselves on that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think what the Roots has done very well is the technology gets fans, audiences closer to the experience, less that barrier that Edreece was speaking about before. And they've been able to do it while keeping their authenticity. That was one of the reasons and many individuals are attracted to the Oakland Roots Sports Club, is that authenticity, that sincerity. So even with the deployment of new technologies, that is your authenticity, your sincerity is first and foremost.
Yeah, and I think that's the really big piece that you guys nail so well. And I was impressed when I was kind of learning about you more and we got introduced, is you're not losing sight of the role that the team is playing. And you brought that team there to give Oakland a team that was true to them, right? And that has always been your mission, your goal, and everything that you guys are doing has been to surround that. And congratulations on the Coliseum, by the way. That's very exciting. I can't wait to come to a game. I'm going to invite myself. But, I think that that's the really true piece, and that's storytelling. And I think the fascinating thing about sports is the opportunity for storytelling is endless. You have a background story of an athlete of how they got there. You have the training protocol if you really want to understand the science behind the game. There is a skill set to sports that's fascinating. So you have all of these different touch points that allow a consumer or a viewer, from a casual fan to a sports fanatic, to be able to participate in the experience, right? So that's, I think, where you guys are unique. So tell me a little bit about how storytelling is really playing a role for you right now.
Absolutely. It's our strong suit. I think we're a generation of storytelling, right? We pass on our memories to people through storytelling. Advertising and marketing is storytelling. And in a lot of ways, we take that most seriously in our organization. I think the most recent example of how that manifested was our community investment round. So we are a community-owned organization. We have 6,000 plus investors, and we've raised over $3.8 million from those investors. That's an American sports history record, and we're very, very proud of that. But the way in which we communicated the community investment round was through storytelling. We told the story of Oakland. We connected to people about what it means to invest in a sports team and how that can transcend into creating value for oneself financially, but also to create a lasting legacy in the community through a sports organization that cares. And all of those assets allowed us to attract thousands and thousands of investors that don't live in Oakland, may live in Lisbon, Portugal, or wherever it be, but they subscribe to our values and our ideals, and that storytelling helped us reach those people and break the record. So staying authentic is key. And I think the other thing I will say is you can't buy cool. And people can nowadays very much pick up on corny. And you gotta be authentic to the community. You gotta be from that area in order to really connect to the people. And that's helped us be successful today.
I think that's where you nail your fan, right? If you really understand who is going to be that diehard person that's going to stay a fan for life, and not just a fan, but a generational fan, right? Who introduces their family to it, becomes a part of the history. I tell this story all the time. The way that I got involved in sports is because I grew up watching Yankee games, and my cousins grew up in Boston. And in my family, it was a Mets. My grandfather was a Mets fan, my parents were Yankee fans, and my cousins were Red Sox. And it was what brought us together. And that ability is where you really kind of create that. In Oakland roots, I mean, you guys are doing that in a genius level, right? But the factor of that to get there is that sports we always consider as a B2C. We think about the sports and we think about the consumer. Sports is B2B2C. It is a business. Sports business is a huge driver of everything from content to your investor example, right? So I'd love your perspective on this of, how you approach these teams, like, because you probably have a lot of people come to you guys, they're like, we want to play here. And they don't really fully understand the extent of what it really could do.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone does assume it's just the brand talking to the consumer, but you're absolutely right. It is B2B2C. And when you look at the revenue of most professional sports franchises, it comes from that B part. It comes from that B2B part. Whether you're negotiating, whether the sports club is negotiating TV rights with the NFL, ESPN, NBC, or you're negotiating sponsorships in the stadium, the apparel, in the community, or you're negotiating with local city governments. I won't go there, Oakland. But it's B2B. Now, the message, the product ends up in the hands of the consumer, but it is absolutely passing from a business to the consumer.
Yeah. And I think I'd love your perspective on that as well.
Yeah. Our sports organization really has three predominant revenue streams, one being ticket sales, the other partnerships, sponsorships, and then merchandising. So to Ted's point, our ability to market both to consumers, but also to businesses that want to have presence in our community, as an example, is a massive factor. We have one of the largest front of jersey deals in the league. And the reason it's Anthem Blue Cross. They came to us and said, we need help getting into the Oakland community. There's no better organization than you guys that get how to connect with people. So help us do that. And we don't sign partnerships with everyone. We like to really ensure that those partnerships align with our purpose and have a outcome that is positive for our community. And we went to Anthem and said, hey, look, this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to look like to operate in Oakland, and this is what you're going to have to invest. And they said yes, and now they're renewed for their 4th, 5th year, right? So,
and even your ticket sales are partly B2B.
That's absolutely right.
Group corporate side. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of people who want to play in the space. I remember when I had a CEO at one of my old companies that I'm not going to mention who it was, where they were just obsessed with sports and just wanted to be in the space so much. Because when you are a fan and you understand it, you want to live in it a little bit, right? So you want to kind of have that relationship. But when you were talking about that ticket sales and all the structures, that's how we designed our technology, right? To be able to do all of those bits and pieces. And that's why sports for us is such a priority, is figuring out how to really bring that to life through both experiences, but also for advertisers and for sponsors and new avenues and new channels where you could be watching a game and you could advertise before, kickoff or anything, but then you can actually be integrated into the live broadcast itself and have moments of interaction. So it's changing.
It is changing. And I would say that sports is actually very behind, in the sense that a lot of sponsors look at the in-stadium assets as the method of promotion. That's reaching, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 people, and it's static signage. It's not dynamic. It doesn't move the needle. And so the tech that you all are building, I think, is the future of how do you take something that's generally static and make it into something that's dynamic and lives outside of the venue. Right? And that's a challenge we're all trying to resolve, thanks to.
Yeah. And the game on the field, on the court, is only one part of that overall experience. And, the IRCODE technology, just the strategy in sports is bringing those audiences, those fans, closer to the game, closer to the experience. I was just at the Warriors game where Steph Curry scored his 25,000th point, which is great, which was pretty cool. I know LeBron has 50,000, but that's beside the point. But it's when I think 50% of the time I wasn't even looking at the court, right? It was what was going on the Jumbotron. It was what was going on around the stadium. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm a little more sensitive to the advertising, obviously, coming from an agency, but there's a lot of experience going on just outside the court, and the Roots have done a fantastic job of that. When you're coming with me, when we go to a Roots game, you're going to see from even before the players take the field to halftime, just the bringing together of the community and just this experience. It's not just showing up, sitting in your seat, watching the game, going home. It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
What are you guys most excited for this season? I mean, you're just kicking off, so you're fully in the thick of it. Is there anything you could tell us about anything new you're testing or trialing that you're excited for?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, we're moving into a venue called the Oakland Coliseum that has virtually infinite inventory. The Raiders played there, the A's played there, 30, 40,000 seats available for us. We've done about 5,000, 6,000 average throughout our history. So to go from 5,000, 6,000 folks in our stadium to 20,000, 30,000 is a tremendous leap for the organization. I thought we arrived last year, and then I'm like, wow, we have to fill 30,000, 40,000 seats, and it became a new reality. We're trending that, which is amazing for our home opener, and we will be the highest attended game that day in North America, which is an exciting feat for us. But with that comes people logistic issues. How do you get 30,000 people into a parking lot? How do you feed them? How do you get them inside of the stadium for Too Short, who's performing at halftime? How do you then close the ramp to our public transportation because we have a fireworks show? And then the logistics of all of that is really complex. And I will say that technology has allowed us to live through that easier. Most of our challenges are now resolved by the tech that we're using, whether it is the app concession connection that allows for people to get their food quicker, or the Evolve security system that I mentioned that allows people to flow through our stadium, prepaid parking that allows people to arrive ready for the game. These are surface level things, but it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, you're really looking at every single moment of the journey. And I think that's where you're nailing it. And it's obviously paying off with this huge debut. But it's fascinating to watch. And I think that's the power of technology in the sports space when you do it right. And you think about the consumer first, right? You have to think about the fan first before thinking about the business. Because if you nail that and you get the fan, you're going to be great.
You're going to be great. Yeah. One thing I want to say, riffing off of that, is that empathy goes a long way for organizations, right? So when you're using technology to tap into the senses of people and not take away from the senses, you win in a tremendous way. Temperature of the environment matters. The smell, the touch, the feel. Ted was saying, I'm looking around and I'm seeing all of this stuff. All of that creates a stimuli in a core memory, and we have to create a positive core memory addition for people and not take away. Last thing I'll say on that is that soccer is the most followed sport in the world. More people follow soccer than religion combined. And it is the global unifier. And so when you take that seriously as an organization and you create value for people that are coming to watch and experience this, that's forever. That's 100 years. And that's the business that we're in. So,
well, congratulations. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been one of my favorite talks. I could talk to you guys all day. So thank you so much and congrats on everything. And we're going to be cheering you on.